The world can be a salacious, surprising, and magical place if you know how to look. Hi, I'm Rhiannon Houch.
And I'm Erin Bagwell, your co-host of the Hidden History of Magick. This week, we are offering something brand new for our podcast listeners, the chance to be dropped inside a one-on-one workshop about how to get signs from your ancestors and learn to flirt with the universe.
During the workshop, we will share what exactly is a sign. How do you establish and use signs with your guides, ancestors, your art projects, and the universe at large? And how do you know a sign really is for you and you aren't just making it up in your head?
We will answer commonly asked questions and even share the number one mistake beginners make. Plus, you'll get access to a meditation practice that you can use to receive signs right now.
Our friend Katie says the signs workshop opened my eyes. Asking for signs is more accessible than I could have imagined.
Our friend Natalie says the workshop helped me connect with a brand new guide, and I'm very grateful to know they're rooting for me.
Join us for this beginner-friendly workshop, free for our Coven members, or just $11 as a one-off purchase.
And add a little or a lot of magic to your life.
Welcome to the Hidden History of Magick WitchTV, where we share how you can do the magic behind each episode. On the heels of our Harriet Tubman the Mystic episode, we talk all about divine purpose.
We share why being in alignment isn't always easy, the tools we use to find synchronicity, plus hear why I think that manifesting might include lying to your children, and Rhiannon calls in the dolphins for help.
You already know the history.
Let's dive into the magic. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I had a very exciting thing happen last night.
I had a weird thing happen, so you tell me about yours.
Okay.
And I'm going to light a candle.
Oh, I found a pair of jeans in my closet.
I already like this story.
And I hadn't seen them in a very long time because they were pre-pregnancy jeans.
Uh-oh, here we go. Okay, Beyonce.
I put them on and they fit. And nothing hung over, or you know what I mean? Like, I fit inside of them. And I felt like Miranda in the posted episode of Sex and the City.
Amazing.
Where it was like, good luck. It's like, oh, it's my
I can't, in a manic depression, I threw out all my clothes after I had my baby because I didn't fit into any of them anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I never want to see any of these things again. And I deeply regret it because I had some gorgeous dresses that I could have passed on. And I didn't save for the gals, but
yeah,
we live and we learn.
We do. I don't know about you, but every once in a while I go through that like spiritual thing. Or it's not spiritual in the sense of like, oh, spirit guided me, but spiritual in the sense of like someone will get on the internet and be like, you have to make space for what's coming to you. You have to let go.
Oh, like cleansing and like, getting rid of stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I definitely get into moods like that too. Yeah.
Yes. So I have thrown away so many clothes. I also threw away all of my yearbooks in that. Because
who needs them?
I know. They had messages in them.
Oh, you miss them.
I do. Or it's not even that I miss it for me, but I didn't ever think I was going to have kids. So I didn't even consider passing
that they'd want to see. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I see. Yeah. That would make sense.
Now, yeah, it's less about me remembering who I am and more about letting them see who I've
a glimpse.
been. Yeah. Especially like pre-children. Because, it's such a different, I feel like there's like a
before and after.
Definitely.
Until we're in our 50s and then the kids are gone and we're reinventing ourselves like the housewives.
Oh, love it. Please.
Then it's chapter 3.
Yeah. I want to have dinner parties with my plastic surgeon.
I just watched an episode of The Valley last night, and Brittany and Kristen, who were originally from Vanderpump Rules, but they went on this, new version of the show where they all have kids and stuff. They did a scene where Brittany is getting a breast reduction, which is my dream, and I really want one. But they walk into their plastic surgeon's office and they both give him like the biggest hug. Like he's their dearest friend that they have over all the time. They're like, Benny, it's you. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, what work have these girls gotten done that they're like that friend, like one-on-one name basis with their plastic surgeon? What an aspiration.
If we don't know what work they had done, then hello, Benny.
True.
Give me your phone. No.
Have you, I don't think we've ever talked about this. Have you ever fantasized about any work?
Yes.
Or do you get Botox or anything?
I don't get Botox and I desperately want Botox.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done filler. The thing though.
Uh-oh.
I want all of it. You know what I mean? Like,
you want all of it?
Give me a fit, give me whatever. Eventually, like I don't want a facelift right now.
Yeah,
but,
you look great.
Oh,
you need nothing. And you have no wrinkles.
Thanks to Zoom.
Our little Zoom touch of my appearance. Yeah.
10% blur.
That's our Botox, baby.
Yes.
I doubt Harriet Tubman ever needed any plastic surgery.
Did you hear the story about when she had a tooth infection? One of the trips. So her whole thing is that she never lost a person. She did 13 missions and never lost a person.
Never lost a passenger.
People. Exactly. Yes.
Famous quote.
And so she was willing to we talked about how she was willing to hold a gun on someone to protect the many. Very trolley experiment. You know what I mean? She philosophically chose the greater good of the whole.
Yeah.
One time she had a tooth infection in her front teeth.
Oh.
And it was giving her so much pain. And she already had all kinds of pain, but it was bothering her. And so she just took the handle of her gun, the butt of her gun, and knocked out her teeth. Yes. So I don't think plastic surgery would have been on her agenda.
No, she was a modest gal in that sense. And supposedly like drop dead gorgeous. So didn't need a thing.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, today on WitchTV, we are talking about our follow-up conversation about Harriet Tubman. Essentially, this episode is going to be more kind of thematic, I think, than we have done in the past. But essentially, how we use spirit to find our purpose, to find our alignment, to get synced in with our dreams, how we know we're on the right path. I mean, I think these are big questions that obviously Harriet felt a calling and felt a connection to. And we're going to kind of dissect her journey a little bit.
I just put together, because a big theme of our conversation was about that she was so clear on what her purpose and her path was, that she had no one could stop her. She had no fear because she had that confidence of hearing the voice of God and knowing, no, this is what I'm to do. But also she literally guided people down a path. She was literally on a path.
Right. And she followed it.
Yes.
Something that I've been kind of reflecting a lot about is our conversation after the show with Dr. LaCara Foster, which if people haven't heard our bonus episode, go back and listen to it. But what she talks about how Harriet put God first or spirit first or the universe first, and how we make all these other things more important than spirit, and like what that does to your alignment when you say, okay, I'm going to be in service, in fulfillment to like what my soul's destiny is, against everybody else. And I think that's something that I've certainly reckoned with and is something that I almost can't stop thinking about it. It's like, what do I put in front of my dreams, my goals? And of course we have obligations. We're mothers. We need to get Botox. There's things on the list.
So busy.
But,
I think God would want me to have Botox. You know what I mean?
Of course.
No.
So that's something that I've been kind of like sitting with and processing. And something else that I love is that Harriet didn't want to do it. She said, pick somebody else.
Yeah.
Which is the story of every prophet. Every great Catholic story starts with like God knocking you on the door. Or even when we think about, historically Mary getting seen by the angel and the angel's like, you're going to have a baby. And she's like, I don't think so.
Yes.
Pick somebody else.
Well, and this is what you would call in the hero's journey from Joseph Campbell, right? So he looked at myths and he had that book, Hero of a Thousand Faces, and he found a common storytelling structure across mythology, across time and space. And the third step is refusal of the call. There's the call to adventure, and a good story always has the refusal of the call. And then there's a meeting with the mentor. And then once you accept the challenge, that kind of takes you into the extraordinary world, or, you burst into two. And so her story very much has that moment, this refusal of the call, this doubt, I think is very important. Because then when you make the choice, it's not just because like, oh, God told me what to do. And here you're doing it out of free will, which is even more beautiful.
You're doing it out of free will, and you're doing it knowing that you're not sure.
Yes.
Like, I love the uncertainty and the vulnerability of like, I guess I'm moving forward.
Yes.
I guess this is where we're going, because I think there's something so powerful to hear that like we don't have to know all the time where the path is. And part of it is just going forward.
And so much of her path relied on the right people, like God placing the right people along the path, because she couldn't do it alone. She had to be hid. She had to have money. She had to relay messages. And at that point, you don't know who's friend or foe on any side of the color line. You know what I mean? Like you could walk up to anyone and they would turn you in. And so she had to use her intuition to navigate it. But also there's that like unknown. I think because I feel this a lot in my life where I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck, just in general. And I don't know what the next step is. And then it's when people like the right person or the right thing shows up along the path that feels like a mile marker or some kind of landmark where I'm like, oh, I'm here. I'm doing it.
Well, something that I really struggle with is timing when it comes to like a dream or an ambition, because I'm like, I have 1,000 projects in my brain. I have 100 movies I want to make. I have, a book. I have a show with you. I want to do spinoffs with you. Like the creativity, the well that I have is untapped. You know what I mean? Like it's a well that goes all the way down to the core of the earth. Absolutely. However, when things do come to fruition, it's based on almost like divine timing.
Yes.
I try to push things forward. And I've been in so many situations where I've started and stopped films. I've made trailers for films I couldn't finish because the timing wasn't right. And I wasn't in a place to do it. And I'm watching my husband experience this a little bit because he's going through some work transitions. And we pulled some cards for him. And one of them was the Hangman. And I am very familiar with the Hangman. Me and the Hangman have a history.
Uh-oh. Doesn't sound like a good one.
No, after I had I think I was pregnant, or I had Virginia. It was probably when I was pregnant and I was pulling cards almost every day of my pregnancy. I would either pull the Hangman or the Tower. And the Hangman is really, to me, when I pull it, its message to me is that, we must be waiting. You're waiting. You're waiting for your divine moment. And the Hangman visually is a person who is upside down on a cross, but they're kind of glowing. There's an orb spirit about them. They look like a saint. They're not pressed. They're not stressed. They have all the time in the world. And where I get in trouble is I always want to force a dream to move forward. And the universe is like, no, honey.
This is actually, I'm very curious what you think about this, because the place where I experience tension with divine timing is, I think, because of the way I experience time, which is I don't really experience time. I have ADHD. And when people talk about time blindness, it's not just like, oh, I forgot to look at a clock. I like literally don't feel the passing of time. So I can be in a space and have a conversation for 3 hours and it feels like 20 minutes. Like I've gone a whole day without eating just because I was like really into a project. It's very easy and not pee. You know what I mean? Like I do not feel the passage of time. When I do energy work, there's this like timelessness that I love to be in that space. I've also experienced like time bending. And so I truly believe that time is malleable and not this tick, tick, tick linear thing, because I've just felt it in my body.
Yeah.
And so divine timing is interesting to me because I'm like, well, if time doesn't exist, or, like if it's all exists simultaneously, and if I'm a co-creator with the universe, can't we just move at the speed of thought? I mean, part of it is that I have trouble with the surrender and the trust. I definitely
that's trust. A big one for sure.
But yeah, I kind of get hung up on this idea of divine timing and how much of it is like, oh, maybe I need to be more co-creator and control this? Can I make time move faster? Or is that me being afraid and control? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I think that's a valid question. And I'm sure there's a lot of different answers. The thing that comes through for me is that usually I haven't met someone or I haven't experienced the thing or whatever the chapter marker is that's going to get me closer to where I'm supposed to be. I haven't experienced yet. And so it's not necessarily that I'm like, waiting and doing nothing. It's just that like whatever the occurrence that's going to like set it off the chain of events hasn't happened yet. And my job is just to keep moving it forward. And then that thing is going to happen. And so when I'm in kind of this place of like stuckness, like my film documentary about the witch is coming up. I researched a film about the witch for 2 years. I did deep research. I started casting. I did a little teaser, and then I felt really stuck with the idea and stuck logistically, stuck creatively, and it just something didn't feel right. I was working with a collaborator that didn't really totally connect. And now I feel like, I'm missing links about this thing. I'm missing experiences. I'm missing, my connection. So all these things kind of had to keep unfolding, and I still think I'm unfolding. I want to make that film eventually, but I don't think I've like bitten into the thing that's going to knock the dominoes down.
I love that. Actually, I just had this conversation yesterday about writing, that I have had the experience where, in grad school, you have deadlines. And so you're kind of forced to do the like, okay, we got to push this through, got to make it happen. I've got to force, I can only write it with who I am in this moment. And I like to work the way that you're talking and it's very Bashar, that follow your excitement to the best of your ability till you can't go any further without any expectation of the outcome is the formula that Bashar has bestowed upon us, right?
And if people are like Bashar, he's a gorgeous galactic channeler. Google Bashar, watch 100 of his videos, fall in love with him. He's great.
Yes, he's channeled by Daryl Anka. One time Joe Mandy do you know who Joe Mandy is? He's a comedian. And he had a series in his stories about Bashar. And I was like, oh my God, Joe Mandy likes Bashar. And then it was brought to my attention that I think he was making fun of him.
How dare you, sir?
I know, but I was like, you have to love
Dream
somebody.
guest Bashar, if you're listening. Come on the show.
Daryl Anka, yeah. Obsessed. Well, there is something to where I think we live in capitalism where you have to drive forward and move things, right? It's your job to
True. And you're right.
Things.
Sometimes the deadline is a limit and you just got to give what you got.
Yes. But I think we're not meant to work that way. I think we're supposed to take things as far as it goes. Like even to bring this back to Harriet Tubman, even Harriet, because she had narcolepsy, she would go as far as she could and sometimes just fall asleep until she got a vision. Her body would just shut down.
Yeah.
And everyone would have to be like, well, we're resting here. And then she would come back with a message from God.
Well, and you said, I don't remember if we had recorded it or not, but there were some years that she could only do like one mission a year. Yes. And then she had a day job.
Yes.
Sometimes the impact of our work is in these short bursts. And I think exactly to your point, like we live in a capitalist, like keep it going society, especially, if you're gals who put your face on social media, we feel like we always have to have something. We always have to be doing something. And it's like, I don't know, sometimes the magic is in the rest. Sometimes the magic is in the silence.
Well, and I think it's in that rest or in that silence, or, I've taken this, if I'm all day at my computer, then I can't be out on a walk bumping into a stranger who's like, that stranger ends up introducing me to the person I needed to meet to be who I am today. So the conversation that I had yesterday about this creativity thing is, I wrote a play for grad school and it kind of sucked. Like it wasn't great. It was like the pieces were there. I know that it's important. I'm going to keep working on it, but it wasn't fantastic. And then something happened. I lived life and it's about spirituality too. It's called The Age of the Guru is Dead. And it's about spirituality and very much.
Do you have a part for me?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. But it is this like.
I'll play the bimbo blonde receptionist.
Love it. There is an assistant who puts this, but it's about like pedestaling people. It's a, guru theme, but there were things, spirituality is always evolving. So who I am Yeah, I had a spiritual awakening in the 90s and the 80s and the 2000s. And like I could tell you 10 stories of a time where an angel showed up in my life or my life shifted or suddenly I was burst open or what. And then it happened again. Or you know what I mean? Like it's not like, oh, I had my spiritual awakening and now
no,
I'm
it keeps
here.
evolving.
Exactly.
And our collective consciousness keeps evolving. What we have access to, I think, keeps evolving.
Exactly. And so what I was writing in, 2017 or, pre-pandemic even, the world changed in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And then I changed in 2020 and I had my I was living, it's the closest that I'll ever live to being in a monastery because, I was like in isolation, cleaning floors because I had toddlers and in meditation and prayer.
I like the
all
idea
day.
of you like on the floor, like Cinderella, like with a bucket of water and the soap
yes.
and the bubbles are floating around you.
Yes, very much. Cinderella is like very much a theme. But it was because I was doing so much prayer, there was like spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
And so I started rewriting this play.
How old were your kids during the pandemic?
I had just had, so I had a 6-month-old.
Wow.
And a 2-year-old.
Mm.
Yes. And it was amazing. I loved it.
Wow. Really?
Yes, because we had a backyard, thank God. Mm-hmm. And so we spent, the 2 years, like I was in a bikini the whole time. And we had we would play in the sprinklers or at the splash table or with bubbles, or we just spent the whole time playing together. And so it was, and then meditating and praying and channeling.
That's lovely.
Oh, loved it. But I was able to start now that I'm having this experience and I'm opening up to this like galactic idea of spirituality and not just like the universe has my back or,
went a little deeper for you.
Yes. Or like more cosmic even. Mm-hmm. That suddenly I'm like, oh, I'm starting to experience the way that we're all one because the pandemic revealed that we're all connected by breath. That's the one thing, like the way that they were tracking, like, oh, this one person had COVID in the choir or this one person had COVID in the restaurant. And they were literally showing us how we're all connected by breath, that we impact each other. We ripple to each other by breath. And so to me, that was a spiritual experience. And so suddenly I'm like, oh, now I'm writing this play from this different perspective where before I was just kind of like, I don't know, skewering something that I thought was, oh, isn't it funny that we call this spirituality and it's kind of like marketing or, but then suddenly I'm like, oh, I have something to say about the forgiveness. And I have something to say about being a flawed, messy person and that being really beautiful anyway. And so suddenly I'm writing. And then after the pandemic, I had a very tough year of like OCD and isolation. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, I listened to a gajillion near-death experience stories and it cracked open another layer. And so now I'm like writing from that perspective. And so the story, the project that I'm working on becomes more nuanced and same characters, same plot.
Of course. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper.
But I could never have, but even how I do energy work has evolved each time that, what I mean? Like there's that one thing at a time. And if I don't meet this person or even like, sometimes you just like watch a reel and it kind of cracks like things that
something.
Yeah. Like there's something really mundane that can happen. And suddenly like, oh, this makes all like, it's like, and everything makes sense in it. And we don't know what the thing is that's going to trip it up. You know what I mean?
How do you, for our like listeners who are thinking about like, if they're in a place where they're not sure if they're kind of fulfilling their divine purpose or that they're aligned, do you think there's like signs or symbols, or how do you know that you're like locked in where you're supposed to be?
Oh, what a question. It's interesting. Okay, I'm going to respond with a question.
Okay.
Do you, because you're psychic, do you feel clear on your purpose? Like, do you feel God told you this is what you're doing?
I am very clear on my purpose. I am unclear on how to deliver that message.
Oh, that's an amazing place to be. Because I do think that because of capitalism, because of American culture, we associate purpose with a job or even like, I don't know that writing's my, like, I wouldn't say that writing's my purpose. I think that authentic expression, as a weird person who never fit into a very specific, like I've never been able to give a clean answer to describe who I am, because who I am has changed all the time. You know what I mean? Like I've always existed straddling multiple worlds.
Yeah.
And so even from like race or, like all of the things all the time, I can't even give an answer of like, so what does your mom do besides, I mean, as a child, I had the experience of people asking the very simple question of like, oh, what does your mom do? And I'm like, she's dead. And so, you know what I mean? Like I've never been able to give I've always existed in these weird spaces. And so I feel very much that my purpose is related to, because I have such a
being
hard
at the
time with
intersection of a couple of things.
Or just like being myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being multifaceted. And even when people are not necessarily nice about it, or you know what I mean? Like just finding and I'm doing it from a very easy, privileged place. Like I'm not doing anything where there are laws against my existence.
I mean, I would say being a working psychic is a pretty bold thing to do.
That's true. That is one of the harder ones. Yeah.
It's not something you could like walk up to the PTA and, you have to really, you got to test the waters on conversations like that. I don't think we're quite there yet.
I do worry about Child Protective Services sometimes if they're like, she's a witch, or you know what I mean?
Honestly, Wicca is the fastest growing religion in the United States.
Wow.
So you and everybody else, babe.
I know. It is a thing though. Yeah. Like being outside of certain religions, being outside, all of that, it can be scary to be yourself. So I feel like my purpose is very much related to liberation, like we had talked about. And to me, liberation is just being able to like freely decide who you are in any given moment.
Yeah.
And how do you express that? And so that's my purpose. And then I have lots of skills that I've picked up along the way that I can write a play about it. I can make a movie about it. I can write a podcast about it. I can build an app or, like do sales or, like there's, how do I infuse? I think about this a lot when I've been in corporate environments, like how do I infuse a little more freedom into a corporate space? And so I think it's very much about the more like I'm not trying to do anything. And the more I'm just trying to allow myself to exist freely, I feel like that always ends up working well in my favor. But if I'm like, oh, I'm trying to do my purpose, it gets confusing. And I often feel like I have to pick one thing. Like, am I supposed to be a psychic? Am I supposed to do energy work? Am I supposed to teach classes? Am I supposed to be a writer? Am I supposed to? And I can never get a clear answer. But I think it's because I'm getting hung up on the doing.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that my existence is enough to be my purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's something that feels resonant, but also does feel like enough. Because that's how I see my purpose is I feel like I'm a really good storyteller. And because I am like a blonde haired, blue-eyed, white, privileged gal who's pretty like mainstream pop culture girl next door, if you will.
Oh, yes.
I'm very good at then bridging weird, more nuanced topics. So I see myself as kind of a bridge of like, hey, what about this thing? And making it almost like a Trojan horse, like very relatable, even though it's a topic that maybe is sticky or uncomfortable.
Oh, yes.
And I felt like that really locked in for me when I really embraced like feminism and gender and thinking about those things and feeling so in love with them and the conversations around them. And that kind of evolved to talking about entrepreneur and women in the workplace and money. And now I feel like we're moving on to like witches and spirituality. Like I feel like I'm kind of tying together some threads. And because I'm a very presentable package, people are kind of open to it on like a mainstream level.
Oh, amazing.
But then to your point, I think that manifests in different ways because I'm very creative and because I like to do a lot of things. So, this podcast, I feel like is part of that. My Substack is part of that where I write my little blogs about it. The book I might publish one day. So it feels like all these little spokes are working together.
Ooh, a spoke is a good way to think about that.
And I feel like, bringing it back to Harriet Tubman, obviously she was one of our most famous and most successful Underground Railroad conductors, but she also cared about the women's vote. She also cared about other issues, and she also, used her voice in different ways. She wasn't just one thing. She was, a veteran, a herbalist. She was, helping people learn how to grow food and, be part of community. And I think it's important that we don't pigeonhole our idols in this way, that we do allow them kind of the breath to, as you said, be just who they are and embrace all the different facets of that.
Yes. And what's incredible about her example, too, is that if her life is a book, she does have all of these chapters where there's something interesting going on, even as a child that was a spectacle. That they would have her do the party trick of carrying twice her body weight and these huge sacks when she's like 6 years old or whatever. She got to be all of these things. And part of it, I mean, I feel like history classes did me a disservice because I only associated her with the Underground Railroad.
Of course, yeah.
And she does, like, the fact that she was in the Civil War, that she was giving speeches and people loved her as an orator, and that she was disabled, like that she's doing all of this as a tiny person. So she has these chapters in her life, and part of it is because she couldn't do certain things anymore. So it's like, okay, pivot, right? And then the other part of it is time changed. The Civil War happened and things like suddenly things changed and there's a new mission. And if she would have been hung up on like, no, this is my duty. And they're like, well, we're closing it up.
True. You got to pivot.
So
she got to keep it moving.
It's kind of like every step of the way, even during her path on the Underground Railroad or on her way to Canada or on her way to New York, when she bought the house in New York, or on her way to whatever the next chapter was, she focused on one step at a time. And she would pause until the voice of God told her which way to go.
I will say, when I'm feeling very lost and very overwhelmed, and forgive me if we've already talked about this on the show, but I will get in the bathtub and I will light a bunch of candles and I will listen. And sometimes I'll write questions before I get in there. Sometimes I'll just wait and see what guides show up. But I listen and I kind of go inward in my heart. And there's something about being in the water that almost tells my body we're entering like a different dimension. We're being in it. We're opening a portal. We're playing with not the mundane anymore. We're getting into magic. And to be able to connect and to feel into like the calm and the peace allows me to then kind of extract messages and talk to my guides and get information. And I think it's so important that we kind of can find those moments where we get really quiet and really just see what's up.
Yes, I love that. And, that kind of echoes, we talked about this with Dr. LaCara Foster, that the water was an important conduit, that she would get messages while waiting in the water. And so it does hold memory. It is a conduit. It does. Even thinking about it like electrically, right? It's dangerous to step in a puddle of water that has an electric line, or, it's dangerous to have electrical objects near a bathtub because it's such a powerful conduit. I really love this. Do you do like salts or anything when you do these baths?
Sometimes I will do flower petals. And it depends on my relationship to the plant, to be honest. I have a tree in my backyard to the right of the moon gate that's named Charlotte Emerald. And she's a tulip magnolia. She's about 2 years old and she should blossom this year. So people can follow me on Instagram and see. Which essentially, like, envision a tulip. The bloom on the tree is huge, like a tulip. And it's so gorgeous. And when I first got her, I had collected every petal that had fallen and I had jarred it, and it sat in this water that almost felt electric, speaking of electricity. And then when I put it in the bath, my body felt, I don't even know the word for it. I couldn't even tell you like what happened, but something happened. And so being able to play with flowers in that way is something I'm really interested in.
You're describing making flower essences. Is you put flowers in water and let the essence of the flower, like the charge, the energy collect in the water. And then to preserve it over time, you just top it off with alcohol. But you're literally describing the process of making a flower essence.
Yeah, I wanna get into that more this summer too, because I have a deep relationship to marigolds. I hand grew zinnias this year. I have 50 zinnias that are growing in my living room. So I want to do something with those petals. And so I want to get into that more for sure. But something else that I do with water specifically is I'll bottle water, or I have these little, I don't know if you can see them in my altar, but I have these little water tinctures, essentially. If you go to like an estate sale and you know how they have those old perfume bottles?
Yes.
So I'll always grab a couple of those if I see them. And then if there's a full moon that's important, or I'm near a body of water that's important, like I will collect water. So that when, sometimes I did Reiki the other day for a family member, and I dosed myself in the water that reminded me of something that they were experiencing that we wanted to cleanse. And so I'll use water in my practice a lot to amplify, to infuse, to add consciousness of something, to kind of elevate it.
Oh, I love that. I've always been such a water person. I grew up, the first 10 years of my life were walking distance from the beach. When I graduated from high school, I went my first year of college was right on the beach. I often would, even when I didn't live close to the beach, I would drive 2 hours or whatever to go sit on the beach just to think or cry. A lot of times I would drive there to cry. And sometimes magical things would happen where every once in a while there's like that algae or plankton or whatever that is bioluminescent. And so when the waves would crash, they would glow.
Ooh,
Moana. So I love the ocean. And I feel like every time I go, especially now, because it is a much longer drive. And I did last week, I drove to the ocean for a day. It was 15 hours of driving.
You're crazy.
For 4 hours.
With 2 children.
With 2 children. They don't mind the drive though. They love the drive.
Do they? That's so nice.
Yeah. It's really easy to do the drive. And then they get out and they stand in the ocean for 3 hours. And then we go, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And it's like such a nice experience. It's like the lowest stress place for me to take them. Like it's so much easier than going to a restaurant. I'll tell you that.
I mean, children. Yeah. That's another podcast, but yes.
I love it too, because we'll all just stand in the ocean and they're playing and I get to like look out, and there's something about the salt water too, where I just let it cleanse me and I try to speak to it. And when I did my mediumship reading with you, you gave me a mediumship reading. The first thing that showed up was this ocean goddess.
Oh.
And so she doesn't remember sessions, so I will remind her.
No, when you bring it up, I remember.
Yeah. Which that's how it is for me too. Like you have to tell me what I told you, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool.
On the telephone, that's what they say at Lilydale.
Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah. So it was this trio of ocean goddesses or water goddesses.
Yeah.
And I think part of where I live now, it's very much the forest. There is a lot of water because it's so humid, and there are lakes. I can see a lake from my backyard. It's fresh water though. It's a different water.
Yeah.
And so there's something about the ocean where I stood there.
Do you have ocean water in your house somewhere?
No. And you know what? You talking about bottling
You gotta get some, girl.
I know.
You're going to need to spritz a little ocean water on yourself every now and then.
I will. It's such a good idea because I could just stand there and I was like, I'm going to talk to this ocean goddess. I'm just going to call out and say that I'm here. And my body just covered in goosebumps. Every time the ocean would move, it's like I felt these like waves of love washing over me. And there was something that was really beautiful about connecting. That's when I was like, I'm going to try to call in dolphins. Let's see if I can connect with, because I felt so connected to the the ocean. I also felt like I got a message from the ocean because it's so abundant.
Yeah, I believe water has consciousness. So I believe you could absolutely connect to it in that way.
Yes. And it was almost like she was telling me like, oh, isn't it funny that like you can feel the abundance of the ocean right here, right? Like we're wrapping you in this abundance. Isn't it funny that they're trying to convince you of the scarcity of water on this planet? And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to sit with this one. But yes.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit with that one too.
Yes. And so there was something about like the illusion, don't fall for the illusion. And my logical brain was like, but desalination or whatever. But it's like, why don't we have inventions for that?
Yeah.
Like, why are we inventing something that will make someone $1 gajillion and not inventing something that would like solve the water problem? It was even this feeling that I got too of like, oh, it's funny that they're convincing you of the scarcity of water and then they're buying up all the water, like scarcity. It was this weird mess. So I felt like I was in communication and there was something that was really beautiful. Now, is this related to my purpose? I don't know, but maybe the purpose part is just being able to feel the consciousness of the ocean, to have a conversation. And then at the end of the conversation, dolphins.
You called him in.
I hope so. I think so. I'm gonna own it. Yes.
Yes, you did. I'm validating.
Yes.
I was going to ask about the dolphins.
Yes, they showed up. And so it felt like this really beautiful moment.
Wow, Rhiannon, that's big.
It was, I mean, it's really cool. I love magic, I think. And so I'd like to think that my purpose.
I think you do.
Yeah.
We've got a whole show about it. So
yes. And so I'd like to think that my purpose is like, maybe even just if it's like, I'm trying all these ways of existing in spaces. And so sometimes in my early life, it's a lot of being weird or being not liked. We're talking about alignment and feeling aligned with your purpose. And so sometimes I think the conversation about alignment is like, if it's aligned, then it'll be easy. If it's aligned, you'll be supported. But I also think that there are certain things that forge us in the fire.
Well, and you have to be tested. You have to prove it. Like, I think when Harriet Tubman stood in front of that other person and blocked their enslaver from capturing them, that was the trigger that the universe said, okay, that she's ready. She's willing to stand in front of danger and she's not afraid. This is the one. And I think when we make bold choices and really prove ourselves, Elizabeth Gilbert talks about this a lot in creative work. Like, you want to be like your most creative self, put on a weird fucking outfit. Like, there's so many things you can do to like call in or take a class. Like, you have to put yourself in the way of things moving and things shaking. Like, we can't just sit in our house and expect lightning to strike. Like, we have to be doing.
Yeah.
And when we prove that we're ready to take it, and what you said before about the hero's journey, what did you say? The third step was refusal. Like, refusal. It's going to be, this isn't, honestly, if I could do anything else in my brain, if I could not be a psychic, I would.
Right.
Like, I'd be happy to not have to like talk about it and talk about gnomes and fairies and feel like a freak. Like, I'd love to do something else. Like, please.
Oh, I've tried. That's the other thing too, is that I've tried desperately to be like, well, can I, work in banking? Yeah. I have a full-time, I'll work in real estate. Oh, I'll work in tech. I can do I've tried so desperately to be normal and that something won't let me.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it too, is that we're forged. Because the other thing about Harriet Tubman, like in a perfect world, she would step in front and stop this from happening and make a bold choice. And then everyone would cower in fear and move on their way. But no, she got hit in the head and fractured her skull.
She paid a price.
And yes. And so it's not even like just making the choice. There's also like,
I've just felt that in my body. Like, you're going to pay a price.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing the wrong thing. Because I think sometimes we think then when something bad happens or the tower falls, right? That, I made a bad choice. I wasted my time. I did X, Y, and Z. I shouldn't have made that move. I shouldn't have taken this job. I shouldn't have married this person. But I had this experience talking to someone recently too. And I think it's partly from near-death experience stories, right? But also I got this like download and conversation with someone, and it was this idea of meant to be, right? So we could think about it in terms of purpose, but purpose is kind of nebulous. And it's a lot clearer to think of like a soulmate, the love of my life, my person, right? Sometimes we do follow the signs that lead us to a person and we fall in love. And it's like, I followed the guidance of God led me to this person. The universe led me to this person. All the signs and synchronicities were there. And if it's painful, if it's bad, if there's betrayal, if there's heartbreak, it's really easy.
Been there.
Yes. And it's really easy to go like, oh, did I misread everything? Did I do this all wrong? Oh, I can't trust my gut. Because if it was meant to be, then it would be good and painless and we would be in love forever. But we need to be forged. And we're here for a mission, right? And so if my purpose is about my self-worth and being able to step into myself without self-abandoning for the approval of others, then maybe it was meant to be for me to fall in love with. Maybe this person is my soulmate. And that betrayal is the thing that makes me go, I'm choosing myself. I'm honoring myself. I'm respecting myself. And that's the thing that forges me onto the next thing. And it doesn't mean that it was like a wrong choice or a wrong path. It was exactly the path. And it was aligned. And I was following the signs and synchronicities. And it hurt.
If I had heard that in my early 30s, you could have saved me like 4 years of depression. Because I went through a deep friendship betrayal and I just beat myself up for years because I was like, I didn't make the right choice. My intuition is off. I messed this up. Like what? I just kept replaying it over and over and over in my head. And my God, to think like that was part of a process or a journey or a forging. I mean, I think that's a really, really... Not only is it like a very compassionate thing to think, but I do believe it to be true.
Yes. And I mean, if we're going to talk about the hero's journey, one of the major components of a story, like it's a requirement, it's the difference between a statement and a story, is conflict, is an obstacle.
Right.
I mean, we use all these metaphors like the Akashic Library, right? Because we talk about our lives as books within this library. And so if it is a story, then yes, conflict sadly is part of it. And I'll say this as a person, I hate it. I don't want, I don't want any of that.
Skip it.
I would love to be a person that could just manifest $1 billion and, live my best life or whatever. But I think that you're not free from problems. You have champagne problems then. And I would love champagne problems. Give me champagne problems. But you know what I mean? Like there's still like, there's always going to be that new layer. Okay. Like now you're in a place where you get sued or you're in a place where people think that you're XYZ and you're still
being successful doesn't like shield you from like the trauma of being a person in the world. People still die. You still get sick. I mean, things like the economy changes, you get there's betrayal, like the world keeps on turning. That's part of our, process. And I had a big aha moment this morning around raising my daughters. I feel like this is related in the sense that I have been really kind of in my parenting wanting them to know they can do hard things. Like, the world is hard. We can do hard things, as Glennon Doyle says. And so I haven't wanted to obviously I shield them from, 99% of what's happening in the news. But I do, we talk, like my oldest knows about like the pay inequity for women because I'm an obnoxious feminist. And I was thinking this morning as I was driving and channeling, as we do, that maybe I should be lying to my daughter, that maybe I should be telling her we've had 10 women presidents. And maybe I should be like giving her a sense of delusion. And hear me out. You're shaking your head no.
Oh, yeah. But
because our children are like fresh manifestors. And if we want them to grow up in a world with equity that we don't currently have, Gloria Steinem says dreaming is a form of planning. And maybe I need to be leaning into, look at all this beauty in the world. Look at all this gorgeous thing. Look at everything you can do with your life. And yes, the world is hard and we can do hard things, but like, am I energetically blocking her by being like, we've never had a woman president and America hates women? Like, I don't want her to manifest that for herself.
Yeah. Oh, I love this idea of focusing. Now, I would say I don't necessarily think that we need to lie to be delusional. Because there are examples of things where
I was like, maybe I talk about Queen Victoria, or maybe we bring in, other prime ministers, maybe it's in truth, but what I'm showing her changes.
Yeah.
Like maybe I need a new strategy.
Yes. I think there is something about in these times, especially, that there are a lot of people here where their purpose is to dream a more beautiful life.
1,000,000%.
To hold
we
that
have
dream.
to right now.
Yes.
Like that is our global mission as a collective. We have to be imagining how things are better.
Yes. And then eventually, there's that like tipping scale or whatever, when enough of us are visioning this thing, then it just all happens. And also, I think what's happening with all the like ugliness in the world and violence and, all the things, that it's so illogical to me that we're in the world that we're in right now. As a child,
it's wild. Like every day it's like, what the fuck?
Yes.
Like what? I was with my neighbors and I was like, we have to laugh. Like, what is this? I don't know what to do anymore. Like nothing, like things continue to shock and horror and surprise, but it's like, we are in a wild timeline.
Even thinking about dating and dating apps, for example.
Oh boy.
I was like, how did we create a world where we made the most basic of things, the most human of things, which is like, I don't know, meeting a stranger? How did we find a way to make it work? Like you're sending emails and forms all day and suddenly it's like a day job. Like why did we decide to turn when we could be walking through beautiful gardens or, like there's so much like, how did we decide to make everything fluorescent lighting, sending emails back and forth? You know what I mean? Like it's such a wild, that part of it doesn't compute. And then the like horrific violence and all of that, the worst things. Yes. But sometimes it's that pressure, that squeezing of this too is what forces the will, like it makes the dream more vivid. It makes the dream more clear. It does burst certain things into being.
And Harriet had that.
Yeah. Like think about when she was alive, what she was going through, what she was born into. And then on top of it, having to deal with that shitty husband.
God damn it, John Tubman.
But that was the thing that if he had just gone with her at the beginning, we would not have this.
I mean, that probably was her biggest heartbreak, ?
Oh, no. I think she said it in her biography. Because
and that was her biggest transformation.
Oh, yeah. So I think that there's something about this feeling aligned doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy. I think that there's synchronicities. There are certain things that come. I've had the experience of like moving into a city and immediately getting a job and immediately making a friend and like everything just falls into place. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be here. Or I've also had the experience of moving to this city and like losing everything, not being able to make any friends, smelling disgusting, like trying to get a job and
being
things
cursed.
falling through over and over. You know what I mean? Like there's all of this stuff that would make me believe that I'm not meant to be here.
Yeah.
And also feeling very deeply, I've also gone to many people and I'm like, can you tell me my purpose? Can you tell me if I'm supposed to be here? Should I move? Because sometimes there's blind spots or whatever. But I've had enough people tell me, and I just kind of feel it in my bones that I'm supposed to be here and it's not supposed to be easy.
And
I hate it.
Chills.
Yeah. Boo. Make it easy.
Well, I mean, my most successful creative project was certainly Dream Girl, the documentary about female entrepreneurs in New York City that premiered at Obama's White House in 2016.
Amazing.
Put me on Oprah's list. I was in an Apple ad. And that was born out of the trauma of being sexually harassed at my job.
Oh. Wow.
I was verbally harassed by my boss pretty regularly. I was dealing with a huge pay inequity from a guy who was my boss who would just watch soccer all day while I did his job and my job. He made $40,000 more than me. At one point, I think I was starting to like disintegrate in the role. I consider myself a pretty like visually sparkly person. And I was starting to like close like a flower. I was dying, I think. And I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here. I founded a feminist blog called Feminist Wednesday, and I would write and share stories about women, about all different kinds of things, but being sexually harassed, one of them. And then through that blog, I was connected to an entrepreneur group, and I was seeing all of these 20 something starting businesses and wearing lipstick and just doing it their own goddamn way. And I thought, well, this is the most inspiring group of people I've ever seen. And how do I become this? How do I get to be here? And so essentially I made the film to teach myself how to be an entrepreneur.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we ended up showing the film. We had over 500 screening events in countless countries all around the world. And I traveled and got paid by the film for 2 years. I got to live my dream and get paid for it and do speaking events. And it was incredible. But it all started from a place where I felt like I was going to die.
I think it's really important to hear examples of that because oftentimes we get this sparkly story that's after, like, you know, even thinking about the metaphor of like giving birth, a lot of times people really care about the baby.
Yeah.
And like, oh, look at this baby, look at this. And then we forget about the trauma of labor. Or most people don't have to see it. They just get to see the baby.
Yeah,
and
of course.
but it is the labor that allows the baby to exist. I do feel a lot right now too, that there is something about this feeling of being like about to crown. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I can't handle the pressure of my life right now. Like I really can't. And it's bringing me to my knees or whatever, right? There's something about this pressure where I think we do love a rags to riches story. We do love to hear about Sarah Blakely selling faxes and hearing no or whatever. But like, this is a perfect example of, I don't know that we always get to hear the hell that you had to experience in order to throw you into alignment. But you also, the alignment was contingent on the point of view you had from this experience.
Yes. It's a great documentary. People can go back and watch 27-year-old Erin,
who
is just flipping around New York City. Yeah, I was in a unique position to tell that story because I so desperately was in love with all the women I interviewed. And because I so wanted to collect it almost like this blueprint for people. And so the film really resonated from that place of not success and not like I'm an entrepreneur who has $5 million, but like, how do I get there? And how do I put my boots on or my lipstick on and figure it out?
And take your power back. I mean, essentially you're talking about when you depend on a man, but even worse, you know what I mean? Like that's something that I think about a lot is we do need community. I think belonging and interdependence.
1,000,000%.
Yes. And sometimes it feels like we depend on or have to be in environments where we feel powerless. Like there are certain moments where it feels powerless and I have to do this thing because it's my job, or I have to do this thing because it's a paycheck and I need to feed my children. I need to have health insurance. I need to fill in the blank. Yeah. There's a million reasons why we feel powerless. And so there is something about like, I don't know, the squeezing, the shrinking, the way
forging the diamonds.
Yes, that contraction that you're talking about made you go so full force into this expansion. And it's not even just like, here's entrepreneurs. It's like they're wearing fucking lipstick, doing it their own way, making their own path. Yes, exactly. And so there's something really like a flower bursting. That's really beautiful about that.
And I think that film put me on my intuitive journey too, because that's when I started meditating and I would visualize my purple amethyst cave and I would go in there and like, I really cracked open a lot of my visualization that I still use today. Wow. And kind of also planted a seed about like how we learn to trust ourselves. And I really believe that, and this is a cliche in like the women's workplace community, so forgive me, but like if you can't see it, then you can't be it. And I've seen that experienced in a lot of the communities and organizations. And I feel that with religion too, that we women have not viewed themselves as God or Jesus or the Pope. And so it's blocking us spiritually. And so that also planted a lot of seeds for, you know, hopefully the witch film whenever it comes to be.
Oh, I love that. Yes. Yeah, there's something about being able to see people in their power and all the different ways that expresses itself to in all the varying degrees, I think is so helpful. I did have an energy session once. Yeah, I have this other podcast called The Mystic Meadow where I do energy work sessions. There's not a lot of episodes, but there are a few where I do like an energy work session for the collective. And most of it was like, oh, I really need to work on this thing for me. So I'm going to do it on me and then make it available to everyone else. And like, if you need it, you can have it. Yeah. And so one of the first ones that I did was about self-trust. And what they showed me, the whoever I'm talking to, the guides, the angels, the essence of life itself, what they showed me is that trust is our power. When we talk about calling our power back, when we even think about abusive dynamics or cult dynamics, what they're all fighting for is your trust. What marketing is all fighting for is your trust, which is your power. And so we know how to give it away to other people. And I think part of that is, I had a friend who's a life coach, and she talked about how when you're a child, you have to give your trust in your parents to take care of you. And so we have this experience of life as we go through life. We if our trust is this little light that we carry, we go, okay, I'm giving this to you to help me survive. I'm giving this to you to teach me about life. I'm giving this to you to teach me about love or friendship, or we're always giving it back and hopefully getting it back in return. And it creates this thing where we have this well of trust that we can give and receive and give and receive. And that's our power, right? Which I think is a little different than love, but it's probably an expression of love. But we live in a world where people are constantly vying for our trust, because I think it's our most powerful resource, because it is our power. And they're mining our trust in a way where it's extracting it from ourselves. When we call our power back, we're just putting that trust back into ourselves, not to keep it here, but to be more, okay, now that I've collected it, I can choose where I put my trust, how I want to distribute that power. How do I want to share it and reciprocate it? Because we need to do it together.
Yeah. And I don't think there's a better example of that than Harriet Tubman. And I think to use her, this week as a guide and a guardian, and when you're feeling lost, for a little nudge, for a little, sign. We talked about in the bonus episode that Harriet loved apple trees and she loved blue and white china. Allow these to be signs from Harriet to lead you where you're supposed to go.
Yes. That's great. Because she also, again, put her trust in the people that she relied on, right? And the spirits that guided her, the spirits of the plants that guided her. And so there's this whole world around us that's guiding us, that's leading us on the path.
The water.
Love it. And our task is to step and listen and step and listen.
I love it. Rhiannon, this was a wonderful episode. We could talk for 10 more hours about this. I know we could.
I know. How are we going to clip it is what I want to know. If it would be so much easier if it's I know my purpose because it's this. And here's 5 steps to know your purpose.
Nobody wants to hear that. No one wants it. They want the dirt. They want the juice. They want us on our knees. Disassociating.
Yes. Love it.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening to WitchTV. If you're not a part of our Patreon of Gorgeous Witches, what are you doing? Get over there. We've got special coven events. We're releasing workshops. There's so much fun stuff. So we hope to see you over on Patreon.
Yep. Hope to see you there. There's a free tier. There's something for everyone.
Something for everyone.
Come play with us. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Hidden History of Magic. If you like the show, please rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform. This show is produced by Rhiannon Houch and Erin Bagwell. A very special thanks to our patrons who make this podcast possible.
To join our coven of gorgeous witches, get bonus episodes, attend live events, and learn real magic inspired by each episode, join us on Patreon.
If you would like your own personal reading from Rhiannon or Erin, check out our links in the show notes. Until next time.